And we're live. This is Beyond the Headlines, our weekly current affairs program where we go beyond the snippets in the news and examine issues to their fullest. This evening, I'm pleased to present our panelists, the Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Shawn Charles, and the person who has been heading up the COVID-19 committee, Dr. George Mitchell. We'll start with Dr. Charles and we'll get to Dr. Mitchell. I know he's been trying to sort out some issues with his internet, so we will start there. Dr. Charles, I know that you're very tired and you're hoping we'll release you early this evening. Can't promise I'll let you go before 10 o'clock, so I'll start with you to see what we could do. How are you doing, Dr. Charles?
Well, I am doing very well, notwithstanding everything that is happening around me. I want to say good night to you and good night to your viewing and listening audience.
So, Dr. Charles, I know that we like to wade in and throw all of the hard questions at you and ask you to come up with answers sometimes that are so difficult to come by. How have you, as an individual, been coping through all of this for the last 8 or so months?
Well, I think I have been coping well by the grace of God. It has been a challenging time, especially long hours. A lot of things are thrown at you all at once, it seems sometimes. Many challenges to face and get over, many decisions that need to be made, all in an attempt to ensure that we are as safe as possible in Grenada. But at the same time, it is rewarding because we can see what is our status here in Grenada. I think most persons feel safe and feel like we're on the right track. So at the same time, the hard work is paying off.
So we saw you having to climb that ladder as changes were made as Grenada was thrust into the throes of this pandemic, and you rose to the position of Chief Medical Officer. Is that something last year you told yourself possibly could have happened? Not COVID, but you're having to step up to this responsibility?
Well, yeah, I started this off as the epidemiologist and in the trenches. You may not know, but a large number of the initial positive cases, I actually took the samples personally, and from there, I mean, things have gone by quite quickly. Like I say, it's sometimes hard to sit and analyze, from where we started to where we are right now. There have been many changes, and yes, I have moved from being the medical officer, epidemiologist for the Ministry of Health, now the Chief Medical Officer. To tell you the truth, I have not had much time to sit and think about it because most of my time is spent working both day and night. I'm sure that at some point in the future, the full realization is gonna dawn on me. But yeah, it's at present it's all about the work and what is needed to ensure that we can continue to to have to at least end 2020 on a good note, and to ensure that everyone continues to feel confidence in the work of the Ministry of Health.
So, Dr. Charles, that was an interesting revelation there. You said that the very first cases, you personally took the samples. Take us through that experience. Were you nervous, wondering, Lord, what shall I find? What shall I find? Were the hands shaking?
Well, after the first case actually the first case was, the sample was taken by one of our community nurses. And the following day, once we got the confirmation, we put a team together and we went out into the field because that was really the beginning of our response. And so we took a team out into the field. We went up to the parish, to the district. We had a sit down with the staff, because at that time, many persons were frightened about COVID. And sometimes you have to lead from in front, not from behind. So in a way, at the central level, we had to demonstrate that we were with our colleagues or fellow staff members all the way. So we went up there as a team to show our support, and we engaged with the individuals. We collected their samples. I'm not sure if I felt nervous or determined. I think it was more determination, because it was the start of it was, let's say, the second step in the journey of 1,000 miles. Let's put it that way. And we had to show that we were all in this together. It's not about us sitting behind a desk in the ministry and having our persons on the front line out there facing the risks and the threat. It was a show that we are all in this together. So just went ahead and did it without thinking, but of course, trusting in the science that once you are adhering to proper protocols, once you are wearing the recommended personal protection, then you feel some comfort that the risk to you is mitigated. So yeah, I don't think it was a matter of feeling nervous. Come to think of it, I can't remember feeling that.
Thank you very much, Dr. Charles, for sharing that. We could have jumped into some hard questions, but I think even this has been probably therapeutic for me, for you, but it's been very therapeutic for me. Here at the GBN, we've been trying to keep our listeners and our viewers in tune, and listening to you now is like, you were there and thinking that you had to lead from the front, which a lot of people had to do. And we'll come back to you, but I want to know, welcome, the Czar, the man himself, who has been heading up the committee, Dr. George Mitchell. Doc, welcome, and it's great to have you on board with us tonight again.
Okay, Odette, it's always a pleasure. It's a pleasure to be back on Beyond the Headlines as well. It's been a long journey, just like Dr. Charles was explaining, and we've been sort of like steering the course. It's been a lot of hard work. It's been a lot of dedicated work. It's been work that, you go to sleep and you wake up part of the night, thinking about it. What is the best thing to do in this particular situation? And, we at the committee level cannot but really, really, show appreciation for the way that our country in general has responded in great part to the call to be safe. There are, hundreds and thousands of really, really, really strong Grenada-loving people out there, if I could sort of like coin that term, who wants to see everything go well for Grenada. And so we've been feeding off that kind of energy going forward, and we want to continue to do that. We have had, those who sometimes show caution to the wind, and, but you will always have those situations in anything that you do. But we are really, really grateful to, those sectors, those persons, everyone on the front line. I remember in the beginning, how many people sort of like would say we want to be part of the response, even though we did not know exactly what we were going to do. And we are really grateful for that. And up to today, we have persons who are making suggestions and trying to ensure that Grenada keeps on course and that we continue to do the right things.
So, Doc, I remember one of the very first programs that we had. You were in studio and you were here with, I think, Superintendent Edwin Martin. And I'll put you on the spot a little bit. We're good friends. I know you won't hold it against me. You were very kind of reticent, and I could hardly get an answer out of you. What was happening there? There was fear of COVID. What was it, Doc?
There are too many things happening at the same time, you know. Sometimes when the engine gets hot, it's just like it was a lot of, you know, responsibility. It was, and COVID continues to be an unprecedented pandemic. We have not had anything like that, although we have had the experiences of going through smaller issues, you know, the likes of chikungunya and Zika. But by far, this COVID experience and what we were seeing on television, etc., people falling sick all over the world, and with the hype and with the mis and disinformation that was actually plaguing the airwaves, it was like, you know, difficult waters to tread at that time, Odette, and one had to be extremely, extremely astute and focused to be able to respond at that time. There were, you know, so many things happening in that little brain of mine. You know, I'm not sure if that explains the moments that you're referring to.
Just wanted to tease you, put you on the spot a little bit and get you to settle as we move into the hardcore matters tonight. Let me thank you so much, because the Ministry of Health has been very forthcoming with information and really, I think, briefing the media so that the public could be properly briefed. So thank you both. And you said all over the world, this has been something that people have had to come to terms with. We want to also say good night to our viewers and listeners who are following us via social media and the GBN web page this evening, the GBN website. And already I can tell you that Betty and Alexander is locked in from New York. We have Sebastian Mitchell, who is locked in from Toronto. Derek Ventu, DV, is in New York. We know he's with us. We have a couple other people. We just want to say thanks to them. Bob Marishaw, we welcome you as well. And all of our viewers and the listeners who are following us on K105. So let's get into matters at hand. We understand that some changes have been made. These were announced over the weekend. Dr. Charles, would you like to take us through what some of those changes are? We know, for instance, that the big ticket item of the 72-hour PCR testing as opposed to 7 days. You want to start there?
Yes, I think I can start there. I think that would be one of the most significant changes that we recently mentioned, moving from the PCR test 72 hours before travel to, 7 days before travel to 72 hours before travel. Well, I am sure that you would understand that this wasn't an easy decision for us, but it was a decision that we felt that was necessary, bearing in mind that we are seeing an intensification of this this pandemic in many countries, on many continents in the world, particularly those that have links to Grenada by air, by sea, on a weekly basis. In addition, as the pandemic intensifies in these countries, we simultaneously are seeing increase in the number of cases that are appearing on our shores, and it is something that we expect will continue to occur, because as long as you remain open, and as the saying goes, I mean, COVID anywhere is a threat everywhere. So we felt that it was necessary to decrease the window of period within which a person who takes and obtains a negative results, we reduce the window within which that test is conducted and they're getting a negative result, and them arriving in Grenada, with the intention of reducing the window of time within which they can become infected. Now, I mean, it is a measure that, like I said, the intent is to further decrease the chances of someone with a positive test showing up in Grenada. It does not mean that it will eliminate the chances of someone with a positive result appearing in Grenada, because based on the time of infection, someone can be infected and are in the early stages, do a PCR test, get a negative result, and by the time they get to Grenada, they become symptomatic or they become infectious. They are shedding viruses. All right. But like I say, it's just a measure that is aimed at narrowing down that window.
So, Dr. Charles, I have a question here on social media, right? So, again, and we're saying goodnight to people in the diaspora. There's a Martin and Sharon Scott who their relatives would like to have them home, but the feedback that we're getting, people see this as a deterrent to people to travel back home. Your comment on that?
Well, I think I gave the answer to that question, because
is it
one, we are not,
yes or no?
we are by no means reducing the number of flights that are coming into Grenada. The intent is to reduce the period of time within which someone does the test and the opportunities for infection. All right, instead of 7 days, you can have a test up to 7 days before, and within those 7 days, you can have many opportunities to go out and become infected, as opposed to 3 days. Like I say, it does not mean that we are going to capture every single case, but it's just a further tightening to ensure that as best as possible, persons who are infected do not board a flight and end up in Grenada.
All right, so let me follow up. Dr. Mitchell, I'll come to you shortly, but the questions are coming in quickly, fast and furious, as they say, right? So there's one person asking, I'll throw two questions and then probably you'll decide who will take which one. One question is, test results may take 2 days to come back. So will the pure safe approval be processed in the remaining 24 hours? I want to be certain that I ask the next question and then we'll move on. Question, how do you count the 72 hours from start of journey to Grenada if an individual is taking connecting flights or last collecting flights? So let me take this one slowly. How do you count the 72 hours from start of journey to Grenada if an individual is taking connecting flights or last connecting flight? Let's take this one and then we go back to the previous question. Dr. Mitchell, are you taking this or Dr. Charles, are you?
We're both capable of doing that, you know.
Okay, Dr. Mitchell, we're coming to you then.
So, Shawn, you want to go there, Dr. Charles?
Yeah, I can. All right, so notice that we say 72 hours. Now, the test is valid from the date that the sample is collected. All right, so the test is valid from the date that the sample is collected. So your sample can, if your sample is collected today, the clock starts today. All right, it is possible that the lab may test the sample the next day, but the clock starts from the moment that the sample is collected. However, there are individuals, for example, if you have to in transit, you have to be in transit through many places. So, for example, you need to get to Grenada, but you need to take a flight to another country or another state, and then transit onward to Grenada. Now, of course, when the results are being analyzed, there may be a few hours of leeway that we will permit. All right. However, your PCR test should be no older than 3 days.
But Dr. Mitchell, some people are arguing that based on where they live, and we had a political case. This evening, somebody was pointing out that they were living in a Republican state in the U.S. where they don't believe that COVID exists, and as such, tests are not easily available. And as such, they feel that they have been put in jeopardy. What is the answer to that? How do we treat with those people?
Well, Odette, before I answer your question, I just wanted to say hi to everyone in the diaspora as well. I came on the program and we started to chit chat, and I forgot my manners.
No, that's okay. I said it on your behalf. Doc, just let me ask you to just, Doc,
I really wanted to say hello to everyone out there, and the whole of the listening public.
Dr. Doc, can I interrupt? Can I ask you, Doc, to just tap the laptop screen back a little, because no. Not too much. Let's see. We could live with that until a commercial break. Yeah, we'll fix it further at a commercial break. So go ahead. Your head was chopped off a little bit. I didn't want the police coming after me.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's rather unfortunate that such situations exist in the great United States even at this moment, and it is hurting our people. But there is little we can do about it. As much as we want every single Grenadian and every visitor to come to our beautiful island, we do also have a responsibility, Odette, to protect the beautiful island that we live in. And I can tell you that if we don't do that, the same people who are vying to come here would not want to come here anymore. So sometimes we find ourselves between the devil and a deep blue place, you know what I mean? So we just sometimes have to, do what is best for the country at a particular time. We may not, and this is an evolving situation. This would not, I'm sure, continue forever. We are watching the epidemiology. We are watching what is happening in the United States. We're watching what is happening in Europe, and we may, have to vary our strategies, our protocols as those situations evolve. So it's unfortunate, I want to repeat, that such situations occur, but we just have to keep doing the right things, and doing the right things meaning taking as little risk, a minimum risk as possible in protecting our country and protecting our citizens, and doing what is everyone, including our persons, our loved ones in those city centers in New York, in Miami, and wherever they are.
All right, so let me remember to ask the question that other person had. I said it were two questions. Test results may take 2 days to come back. So will the pure safe approval be processed in the remaining 24 hours?
You want to take that when you come back, or you want to take that now?
Go ahead. Let's go with it now. No.
Oh yeah, we have set up our system to allow for just that to happen. And I sort of put it out there for them to challenge our system. Once we get the application, within the 24 hours, we vouch to be able to respond to persons, so that they can travel to Grenada. So we're putting it out there. We are mindful of that possibility. And just this afternoon, we were having discussions that sort of dealt with that kind of eventuality. So we are ready to go, so to speak.
All right, and we have another question here on social media. Ask the doctor whether they'd consider secondary testing for hotel guests.
Secondary testing means, Shawn, you're the guru there. You're the.
I would have to ask them to define what they refer to as secondary testing.
Correct.
Because according to our entry protocols, no matter where you come from, you will be quarantined. We test you on the 4th day after your arrival. We do PCR testing. And once you receive a negative result, you are given health clearance. So I would ask for a definition of what is meant by secondary testing.
All right, so let me ask the person who's made that submission on the Facebook page. You've heard the doctor asking for a qualification of the question. There's somebody asking, my question to the doctor is, why are they trying to prevent something that they did the wrong way from the start? Maybe we need to chew on that one and come back on that one, Doc.
What is the something that needs a little bit of qualification as well?
That needs some qualification as well. So let me ask all of our contributors on our social media feeds to qualify your questions. Put a little more meat on the bones, and we will continue the discussions this evening. We have our health forum with the Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Shawn Charles, and the head of the COVID-19 committee, Dr. George Mitchell. This is Beyond the Headlines. We'll be right back.
How going on, boy?
Hey, good old things.
Hey, easy.
Yeah.
Boy, in line, boy. Your house looking a real good day.
Boy, it's thanks to the hard-working and professional staff at the Housing Authority of Grenada. They handled me real nice. They did my plan, they did the construction, and I didn't even have to worry about a thing. They were there with me every step of the way, supervising the job, asking me about my concerns, giving me feedback as the house took shape. They were there from start to finish, and even put the keys in the palm of my hand. I give them an A++ for customer service.
Oh, it's people from housing bad, boy.
Boy, not bad. Excellent. If you're thinking about constructing your home, why not consult the Housing Authority of Grenada? You could visit them right down in the Sandino complex, or give them a call, 440-1015 or 440-1016. Or check out their website, hag473.com. They go handle you. They go jog your blocks, they go draw your plan, they go tote your materials. Hey man, where you going? The Housing Authority of Grenada is your choice for affordable housing and a stress-free construction experience.
These have been tough times, and we could all use a helping hand to get through this period. GUT Credit Union gives you the opportunity to do just that without a worry. What are you looking forward to? A relaxing staycation? Brand new appliances or devices? Consolidating your debt to get more money in your pocket? Not a member? No worries. Come in and find out how you too can make the most of this offer. Or visit us today. Yes, you can have a brighter Christmas season with GUT Credit Union. GUT Credit Union. It's where you belong.
Total is one of the world's largest oil companies with a top quality line of lubricants. Total Lubricants has a full product line from passenger cars, motorcycle, heavy industrial equipment, mining, trucking, agriculture, and manufacturing machines and vehicles. Total Lubricants, winning championships in motorsports, including Formula One and World Rally Championships. Total Lubricants are available at all Rubis service stations, leading automotive shops, and distributed by Huggins.
What makes a strong team? Supporting each other, sharing successes and disappointments, learning from one another. Get a Be Better health plan from Beacon and get simple and affordable medical benefits so you can build a better team. Call 440-4447 or log on to beacon.co.tt for more information.
Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines. This evening we have a health forum and we have the Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Shawn Charles, and Dr. George Mitchell. He's the head of the COVID-19 committee. Doctors, one of the concerns expressed surrounds the fact that we have mostly had imported cases. And some people were saying, open back the borders, people want to come home. People are now saying, shut the borders. What is your take on that, Dr. Charles? We realize somebody has to take an emergency phone call. So, Dr. Charles, it's to you.
Right. So, I guess we can easily throw that questions to the persons who are sending the questions into us. Because I remember one of the comments on the first question you mentioned, I believe you said that somebody wants to come home. The thing is, we can't keep our ports closed forever. We need to trade. Persons need to travel for different reasons, be it to reunite with family, to receive medical attention, for business. We need to buy medicines and food and other supplies. So our ports cannot remain closed. What we do is that we try to open our ports and to ensure that we have systems in place where if a positive case arrives, then we are able to capture them. And in large part, we have been successful in doing that. And that is part of the reason why we have not had community transmission occurring here in Grenada. And this is something that we will continue to do. So I would support keeping the ports open because it is necessary for our own health, for our own survival. And I would ask persons who are calling for a closure of the ports to just open their minds and look at all sides. There is someone sitting somewhere in the diaspora right now wishing and hoping for the opportunity to come back to spend the holidays with their family. And I'm sure that we would like to ensure that, persons have that opportunity, but at the same time ensure that, it is all done in a safe way.
Doc, I'm not certain if you're privy to the stats, but can you tell us how many people we have had coming back into the country or even visitors since August 1 when the international airport was reopened? Any numbers? If you don't have them, that's all right.
No, I don't have those stats,
okay,
but it would be in the thousands. It would be in the thousands.
All right. So let's go to the whole issue of our latest case count and characterization of those. Dr. Mitchell, you want to take us through the numbers? We know...
no, I'm not going to take you to the numbers because that is Dr. Shawn Charles's forte. Remember, Dr. Charles, just came from being our epidemiologist. He's now our CMO, and he has his finger right on the pulse there. But I just wanted to take this conversation a little backwards to the issue of opening of the ports, etc., and the necessity to do so, because that is important. And on my way to this little conversation on the program, someone called me, and it was basically to say, Doc, we have an emergency, and someone needs to go to New York for something that is of critical importance to them. And I have been having that throughout the week and throughout the weeks, actually. So there is a necessity for persons to travel. However, what we continue to do is to ensure that persons are as risk-free coming back into Grenada, that our filters are working, and that we ensure as much as possible, and that we've been doing a great job at it, if you would ask me, to ensure that the risk is minimum, and that if someone comes in here with, even though they're coming with a negative test, and our protocols, test them on day 4, that we are finding those persons. So we're not in this business of stopping travel, but we have to travel as safely as possible. And persons do need to go, every now and then to have vital and important things done in their lives. So that one, unless it becomes absolutely necessary, I don't see why we should encourage a total closure of our international airspace. But I would ask Shawn, Dr. Charles, CMO, to deal with the numbers. But I hasten to say, Odette, let me just rectify something that you have said, because I need to clear the air. I am not the COVID coordinator at this time. I am an important member, if you ask me, of the COVID subcommittee on health. So I just wanted to clear the air on that before the headlines become a little bit distorted. Thank you.
All right, we stand corrected there, but based on what was sent to me today, and I have it in front of me, Dr. Mitchell, Odette, your guests this evening are, and I'm told 3 people, and one couldn't make it. We're not dealing with that. Acting Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Shawn Charles, the National COVID-19 Response Coordinator, Dr. George Mitchell. I enter to the court as Exhibit A. Let's move along.
Well, thank you. I will take that if you insist.
I'm acting based on the advice given to the client,
Okay, no problem.
Dr. Charles, before we go to the numbers, we did ask people to clarify and put meat on the bones of some of their questions. The person who asked the question about secondary testing has come back to us. The person said, I mean, testing the guests while they are at the hotel after they were already tested. So that's what the person was referring to. Dr. Charles?
Well, like I say, we test everyone arriving on the 4th day after arrival in Grenada.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if that wasn't understood.
Okay. All right, and then one person is asking, just login, so I'm not sure if the question was asked. However, I'd like to ask the CMO, if a Grenadian national trapped outside and is getting an opportunity to get home can be denied entry into the country if they can't pay for quarantine at a hotel.
All right, so if someone cannot pay for quarantine, there are always arrangements that can be made to assist persons who have a genuine need.
All right, and I notice you stress the word, you say the word the way my father would say it, a genuine need. So let's go back to the cases, Dr. Charles. Case count?
Right, so total case counts to date, 41, 22 male, 19 female. Now, since we reopened in October, we had an additional 17 cases. 10 of them are male, 7 female. Now, 2 out of this 10 were acquired here. Sorry, 3 out of the 17 were acquired locally as a result of being in close contact with with persons who traveled. At present, we have 11 active cases.
So a quick analysis here is showing in both instances we have more males than females. Dr. Mitchell, is that ringing a bell? Is that enough a ping anywhere in your brain?
Well, yes and no. The numbers are not too dissimilar. It's just 19 and 22. So it's just maybe that men are a little bit more active than women, or, for the argument's sake, you can say men are maybe a little bit more adventurous, maybe a little careless. There's so many things you can actually throw out there. And I would not venture to say more because my male friends out there might, be coming at me soon after the show. But it may just be a statistical blitz, if you ask me.
All right, Dr. Mitchell, let me ask you, or anybody could answer this question. Dr. Mitchell, you just said that 3 of those people, and forgive me if I get it wrong, acquired by reason of association with people who had come in. Wouldn't that qualify somehow as community spread?
Dr. Mitchell didn't say that it was Dr. Charles.
All right. You see, I have these 2 doctors here, so forgive me. Dr. Charles, I'm coming back to you for clarification.
No, it will not. No, it will not. All right.
Why not?
These are import-associated cases. Community spread occurs when there are cases occurring and you cannot link those cases to, for example, travel, all right, or to a known case. So you cannot link the cases to a source. So there are persons being infected in your community, and you cannot determine where they got the infection from.
Okay. Thanks for the clarification. And I have a persistent viewer, and that is what the program is about. It's about getting our viewers' questions answered. So, Dr. Charles, I have to come back to you. The person says, the CMO has not answered the question. The question is, will the individual be denied entry since showing a booked accommodation is a requirement for travel authorization? So, Doc, you need to give a yes or no answer.
I will repeat the answer that I gave before. For persons who have a genuine need, we have facilities to assist.
No, so that's 2 separate questions, Doc. So the person who would ask about whether they would be able to get quarantine, the person wants to know whether they'll be denied entry, because I know you have to go online and fill up the form. So would you be denied entry, yes or no?
We do not deny entry to our citizens, especially if they have a genuine need.
Okay, so if you put on your loyalty hat, you will say you cannot take away the person's constitutional rights. All right, let's move along, Doc. As part of the regulations that have been issued, we need you to clarify. There is a pamphlet that the Ministry of Health has issued, and our producer is going to assist us in getting it on the screen. But in the meantime, it looks like this. There it is. All right, on screen, thank you. Social gatherings, no more than 20 people. Help keep Grenada safe. Don't get or give the gift of COVID-19 this holiday season. So who is going to explain whether that is on the wish list or whether this is law?
Well, I guess I can take a guess. I can forward an answer. Let's put it that way. That is what is stated in our public health regulations. So the poster is just reflecting what is written in the public health regulations with regards to social gatherings of up to 20 persons.
So I saw people quarreling about this on Facebook, right? And I'm representing the social media clientele. And they were saying, why are you telling me no more gatherings at 20 when buses are allowed to have a full load and funerals are at 75? So what's the differentiation?
Well, I guess I can give an equally controversial answer that transportation is a necessity. All right, we are speaking of social gatherings. All right, the two cannot be given equal weight.
Odette, can I chime in here a little bit?
Go right ahead.
It was really a painstaking decision that we had to make after several days of debate and discussions regarding the issue of public transport. And always we have to sort of like weigh the pros and the cons when we're making those decisions. And I sort of like dovetail my answer into what Dr. Charles just said. In life, you have to make some critical decisions. And one of those decisions that we've had to make in the interest of livelihood of persons in general was the issue of public transport. And so it is difficult to equate that and give it the same weight to allowing, 10 or 25 persons to engage in activities that are not, does not have the same weight, if I would use the same language that I used just now. So the psychologists and the sociologists and the people in education will tell you that there is a hierarchy of need. And here comes a need for persons to go to work, etc., to keep the economy going. And so we have had to make that critical decision.
All right, before we go to a break, there's somebody here from Montserrat who is asking, I am listening, but I can't fathom why folks have to go to the government-designated quarantine centers when they have their own places. Are they assuming that these people have money to get into those centers? Why can't they quarantine at their own places and checks be done there? Why can't they be checked at their own places? Is it a question of resources or a lack thereof? That's somebody from Montserrat asking this question.
What, that person is in Montserrat or that person is in Grenada?
That person is in Montserrat, and I can see the smoke on Dr. Charles' face. Dr. Charles, I'm tossing this one right here. I could see your face is like, listen, people.
Well, I'm sure that the public will understand that we gave home quarantine 2 chances in the past. And we were failed twice in the past. Because despite what persons tell you, in order for you to approve the home quarantine, they have shown us time and time again that they are not prepared to hold up their end of the bargain. Hence the reason we have come to this position where we had to significantly limit the number of persons that are allowed to go into home quarantine. When we started, after we opened our borders this second time around, a short time after we opened up quarantine to basically everyone, and I'm sure that you understand what happened next. All right. Persons simply have demonstrated that they are not willing to comply once they are allowed home. Even when we placed tracking watches on persons, what they've done was stay home and invite persons in at home. We were flooded with calls. Persons have time and time demonstrated that they are not prepared to obey or to comply with the privileges that we give. And it's unfortunate, but this is where we have arrived.
All right, this is where we have arrived, and we have arrived at a point where we must take a commercial break. When we come back, we had an issue that was covered in the news this evening. Yachties trying to enter the island illegally, and also there has been a comment made by a senior government official that has kicked up a social media storm. We'll pick those 2 issues up when we come back with our panelists this evening. This is Beyond the Headlines. You won't want to go anywhere. Do stay with us.
With just $2, you can gift yourself with a chance to win the Lotto jackpot. Now, imagine winning the National Lotteries Authority jackpot of $56,000. Why pass up on this winning opportunity? Lotto, play and win a lot of money.
Well, good evening and welcome back. It's time for the National Lottery Authority's Lotto draw number 3143 for this evening, Monday, the 23rd of November, 2020. The estimated jackpot is $56,000. Well, of course, joining me once again is Ms. Makiba Bain. She's representing PKF Accountants and Business Advisors. Well, let's find out what the free ticket letter will be for this evening. Good luck. And this evening's free ticket letter is This evening's free ticket letter is the letter C as in cone. That's C as in cone. And it's time to reveal tonight's 5 winning numbers for $56,000. Good luck. All right, check your tickets. First number is... First number up is 19. A second. Second number, 28. Third number is 16. Fourth number 7, and the fifth, yes, fifth and final is 10. All right, let's do a quick recap. The free ticket letter was C as in cone or call. That's C as in call. And the 5 winning numbers. Let's recap. Double check your tickets. First number up was 19. That's 1919. The second number was 28. 2828. Third number 16. 1616. The fourth was 7077. And the fifth and final 10. 10. If you have these numbers, congratulations to you. This has been Lotto. Play and win a lot. Well, if you haven't won this evening, give it another shot and we'll see you tomorrow. Remember to continue supporting sports, culture, and nation building. Have a good night.
I'm a winner. You are winner. We are winners. Winners.
It's the big one. Grenada. Imagine winning $25,000 and up to 6 times by scratching just one little ticket. Get your triple cash scratch tickets for a chance to live your best life. Win easy with Scratch. For just $3, match any of your numbers to any of the winning numbers and win the prize shown for that number. Reveal a money back symbol and win the prize instantly. Triple cash scratch in stores now. Must be 18 or older to play.
'Cause I'm a winner. From the moment that I get up, I'm feeling right.
Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines. This evening we're having a health forum with 2 senior health officials, the Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Shawn Charles, and Dr. George Mitchell of the COVID-19 Committee. I like to call him the COVID czar. You know, let's leave that there, Dr. Mitchell. We ain't making no qualifications. So, gentlemen, I have a fear. Members of the public have a fear. Is there a likelihood that we could find ourselves under lockdown again? Before I ask you to answer, though, I want us to revisit comments made by Grenada's tourism minister last week at a town hall meeting. So let me ask the producer to assist us with that, and then we come back and ask you to chime in on that discussion.
As COVID-19 cases continue to increase throughout the world, with major international countries implementing restrictions to curb the virus, government officials once more fear a major outbreak in Grenada. To date, the reported cases of the virus is 37, with 7 active cases. With recent incidents of individuals breaching quarantine, government is warning that they may be forced to resort to measures previously adopted. Tourism Minister Dr. Clarice Modeste-Kerwin addressed the issue during government's town hall meeting on Thursday at the St. John's Anglican School.
In order for tourism to start creeping back, we have to have compliance, strict compliance with all of the protocols that we are given so that we can minimize the transmission. If that continues, if the misbehavior continues, then you know, we might have to consider what none of us want to hear. And I don't even want to use the word because I don't want us to go back there. But it is always a possibility if persons do not do what they have to do.
Dr. Modeste-Kerwin said people's reckless behavior is stretching the country's resources to the maximum.
We are stretching the capacity of the police. We are stretching the capacity to the maximum. We are also stretching the capacity of security force, other security, that's the private securities, and very importantly, our healthcare personnel, our chief medical officer, the nurses, the doctors, everyone involved, they are being seriously impacted, and not just by the COVID itself. I think they have had less worries with COVID itself, less than persons who misbehave and cause a lot of unnecessary hardship to the persons that they contact and also to the workers in the industry.
While commending her colleagues for ensuring there was no lack of medical supplies to take care of the medical staff, she warns that if misbehavior continues, supplies will become affected.
Always been cautious. We have always prioritized and given paramount importance to the safety and the health of our people. And our government, our Ministry of Health, and all of us will continue to do just that. So if at any time we see the tide not looking good for us in terms of the number of cases, we would have to stop flights coming in.
As it relates to the arrival of cruise ships, the minister says the situation remains fluid, and as such, that aspect of the tourism industry remains on hold.
Vice President of the Grenada Bank note.
We have heard the inserts there from the minister, and she didn't want to use the word. Dr. Charles, you think you could pick her brain and see what's the word she didn't want to use? You think Dr. Mitchell, it looked as if you had an answer. What's the word she didn't want to use?
No, you're talking about lockdown?
Ask the question, me for me.
No, I would not be so far, so to speak, to try and sort of like verbalize what Minister Clarice Moden-Cowan wanted to say. But, you know, Odette, and for all our listenership, let's look around us to see what's happening. I mean, in the region, we have seen what has happened in neighboring countries and the measures that they have had to take to try to get the virus under control. I mean, we all have television sets in our houses now. I mean, the vast majority of persons, and we're seeing what is happening in North America and in Europe, in the UK, in Germany, in all of these countries that they have had to lock down their societies, you know, because of the spread of COVID-19. And, you know, I think the minister was saying, listen, let's not fall into that trap. Let's do the right things. Let's not be careless with our actions now and in the near future, in the weeks that are coming, you know, with the Christmas season that are approaching. We don't want to have to go back there. And we're enjoying, if you ask me, we're enjoying a nice period. We have had cases, yes, but we know where they are. We have had them under control. Our protocols are working. People are working tirelessly, but we really, really, really cannot afford to go back there. And we don't want to. Okay, so you know, Mitchell, I think she's appealing.
But Dr. Mitchell,
she's appealing to the society,
but
yeah.
Immediately people pounced on this on social media because I think some people were offended by the minister alluding to people misbehaving. And the feedback that we've seen on the Facebook page is that people are saying it's imported cases we've had, Madam Minister. So why are you talking to us? Why are you telling us this when Grenadians have not contributed to the spread of this?
Oh, well, you know, there are many words that one can use, and I would not use a word for the minister. But I think she may have been alluded to the fact that we have had situations where people have actually left quarantine and gone out there. And luckily, because of our swift action, we've been able to quarantine all the contacts and bring the situation under control. At great cost to us, though. You can ask Dr. Charles because he's sort of like directly involved with what it takes to bring those situations under control. But it has come at a price for that. And we have had to sacrifice a lot to keep the situation as it is today. So I want to allow Dr. Charles to address that particular issue now.
But let me ask Dr. Charles to just be patient, because we have, Dr. Charles, we'll get to you on that, right? But I'm looking at the time ticking down. You did ask to go to bed early because you've been so tired. But I didn't see how you get to know it tonight, because we have a caller and we have a lot of questions coming in on social media that we're trying to accommodate. Let me take the caller because they've been there for a while. Caller, good evening.
Good evening, Odette. Just quickly, to be fair, right? Now, based on what Minister Modest would have said, and to the best of your knowledge, now I have seen people written letters detailing they will do A, B, C, and D in accordance with the COVID protocol. Yes? Because they want to get permissions for certain things. When it is granted, the very same thing that they promised that they will do, they flaunt each and every one of it. I have seen people who said, listen, you know, I have this, I have that. They dictate it. Simple things as hand washing, they refuse to do. And let us put what Minister Modi said into context. The restaurant that did not keep a log as part of the protocols, who promised that they would do it, wasn't that reckless? Don't you think that if more restaurants were to behave like that, and if more persons were to act like that, then it sets us up to fail long term? I mean, we have to balance that. So I don't think it is fair for people to be coming out on the minister or on the ministry per se in that sense, because it was put into context based on the behavior of the very same people that we are trying to protect. And like I said, I have seen letters. You know, I have heard people stand up and say, I am willing to do that. And
well,
when you
thank
make
you
a
so much. I think we recognize the voice as Campbell Frederick from the Ministry of Health. Campbell, thank you so much for that contribution. And you're talking about context, and the context that was viewed is where the meeting was being held, who the audience was, and who was seen to be seemingly accused of misbehaving. But we thank you so much for that interjection there. Like I said, we have a lot of comments still coming and questions. I've been asked to follow up. I think that the previous person on Facebook was alluding to the hotel guests not getting tested upon arrival and never getting tested again if they choose not to leave the hotel before departure. And I've also been asked if restaurants that were pre-approved for more than 20 persons would continue to function with more than 20 for the season. Dr. Charles, can you offer any clarity on this?
All right, so I think the person is speaking about one of our special arrangements, which is only offered at 2 all-inclusive properties. Persons come in, those persons are not given health clearance to enter the community in Grenada unless they take a PCR test on the 4th day after they arrive in the country. So they can come in, they spend the entire vacation at that all-inclusive property, and they leave, and it's all maintained in a controlled environment. If those persons ever wish to come into the community or visit the spice market or go and do a tour around the island, those persons must first receive a PCR test before they are allowed to do so. That is one of our tourism arrangements.
All right, you want to follow up on the issue of whether restaurants which were pre-approved to operate with more than 20 people, whether they'd be allowed to continue for the season?
All right, so those restaurants who were pre-approved to operate with a certain number of persons, that continues. All right, great.
We want to get to the whole issue. We've been looking at ports, and we know that in some areas we could say we have porous ports, and we won't be able to accommodate the full report in the interest of time. But I'm just going to ask the producer to help us with some of the B-roll, the covers on this. We had an issue where a yacht tried to evade the authorities in St. David, and then they had issues, and we understand that some people who went to help them have been compromised and placed in isolation. There we have it. Crystalina John and Bernadette Connell Celestine went out to St. David today and captured footage of that. Dr. Charles, do you want to comment on that at all?
All right. This, after investigation, turned out to be preliminarily a situation where the crew that was attempting to enter apparently did not understand that we only allow entry at 2 ports for the yachts, and that's one in St. George at the yacht club, and the other is in Carriacou. So they attempted to come in and enter that marina. They were instructed that this was not proper, that they need to go out and follow the proper procedure and head for St. George. While making their way out, they encountered some difficulty with the yacht, I believe maybe bottoming out or maybe hitting a reef or so. Of course, there were some individuals who ran out to help, not thinking about their own safety. And of course, they came in close contact with the individuals. As a precautionary measure, we have placed those individuals under quarantine until we test the individuals that came in on the yacht and determine that they are not infected with COVID. And once that is concluded, everyone would be allowed to leave.
So, Dr. Charles, do you have any idea how long it takes to sail from Martinique to Grenada?
No, I don't know.
Because
I'm not a yacht person, so I wouldn't know that.
Probably in another life, we'll catch up on that scale. We had the cases in Carriacou where we had the yachties who had come in from Martinique testing positive, and it was within the context of the 7-day PCR test requirement that I was asking this question. What happened there?
Well, the individuals came in. They, according to our protocols, they were anchored in the quarantine area, and they remained in quarantine until they were required to have the PCR test. They had the PCR test done, and the results returned the following day. They were positive.
All right, let's jump on. We only have 10 minutes remaining to the whole issue of vaccines. Dr. Mitchell, anything on vaccines? We saw Antigua saying last week that they have put in an order for 22,000 doses. What's happening in Grenada-wise vaccines?
Well, here again, I would like to defer to Dr. Charles, the CMO.
All right, so
I have some general.
I
have some general comments about vaccine. I think it's, on the horizon. A lot of work has been done, but in terms of vaccination of our population and where we are as a Ministry of Health in that particular endeavor, I think Dr. Charles is the person that can most adequately answer that question.
Doc, it's over to you.
So we know that the world is eagerly anticipating the release of a safe and effective vaccine. We also understand that there are we also informed that there are 2 promising vaccine candidates that have been showing relatively good results. However, we know that the developed countries have already paid for hundreds of millions of doses of this vaccine simply because they have the economic power to do so. Countries like Grenada, for us to have a chance to have access to this vaccine, we need to combine our forces regionally and internationally in order for that to occur. Now, WHO, along with 2 other international organizations, one is the Global Vaccine Alliance, the other is SETI. I can't remember what the acronym stands for. They've created a facility to ensure that there is equitable access to vaccines throughout the world, particularly for low and middle-income countries like Grenada. So Grenada is a participant in the facility that was created to make the vaccines available to us called COVAX. All right, COVAX, the aim is at least to have about 20% of the population of each of the countries vaccinated once a safe and effective vaccine is released. Now, we may not get sufficient vaccines to vaccinate 20% of our population initially, but we are hoping that once that vaccine is made available, that sufficient would be made available so that we can vaccinate some priority groups, some key priority group of individuals in Grenada. Right now, we are currently working on the vaccine deployment plan that we will use, that will guide our rollout once this vaccine becomes available to us.
And who might you consider to be in the priority listing?
Well, I can let you know that firstly, it's frontline healthcare workers. These are the first, and other frontline workers. Then we have persons who are at increased risk of severe disease. So we're talking about persons over 65, persons with chronic underlying conditions that will increase their risk of severe disease or death. These are the first individuals who would be a priority for vaccination.
All right, we're quickly running out of time, and I just like to always acknowledge our viewers and listeners who share with us, and one person has shared the Office of the Prime Minister, and that is in Belize. Let's make it clear, in Belize. The Office of the Prime Minister hereby informs that the Prime Minister, the Honorable John Bracino, was swabbed for COVID-19 and has tested positive. Prime Minister Bracino will remain in isolation for the next 2 weeks, after which he'll be retested. The public is encouraged to continue wearing masks, practice social distancing, and continue to follow all guidelines of the Ministry of Health. And we, of course, we stress that this has come out of Belize this afternoon. One of our viewers sharing with us, and we always like to acknowledge our viewers when they share with us. So as we get ready to wrap it up this evening, gentlemen, probably you came on with something or things that you wanted to ensure that you got across to the public. Your chance is now. Dr. Mitchell, we're starting with you.
Yes, Odette, thank you. You know, I would not come off the set if I don't say thank you to the public who has been with us, behind us, those persons who have, you know, donated PPEs, that's personal protective equipment, those persons who have encouraged us, given us ideas and all of that. We have come a long way, Odette. We have, you know, hundreds and literally thousands of us Grenadians have sacrificed to make this country safe. And we want to continue to do that. We really, really can't afford to go backwards. We are approaching a season, we are approaching some times in our lives when we sort of like tend to throw caution to the wind. I really want to encourage everyone out there to do the right things, to continue to keep us safe. We want to, at the end of all of this, be proud Grenadians that COVID never really affected us in any way. We want to stand up and, you know, shout 473. That is what we love. That's what we want to continue to love and be proud of our country for mounting the kind of response and the responsible response that we were able to do. So once again, I really want to urge everyone, those of you who are thinking that we are sort of like out of the woods, that we don't have COVID here, any little mistake could cause us to revert to a place where we don't want to be. So, you know, my clarion call is for us to steer the course and to be responsible and to do the things that are right. Continue to wear your mask, continue to sanitize, those business operators and everyone to do the right thing. If we do that, then we can come out of the back end of this knowing that we have done a good job and we have kept Grenada safe. I want to thank you.
You're welcome. Dr. Charles, there's something probably on your mind that you want to get out to the public before we wrap it up this evening?
I just want to encourage the public to walk along with us. We have come too far to throw away the gains that we have made over the past few months. It took a lot of hard work to get to this point. I just would like to say thank you to the health team that have worked tirelessly both day and night to get us to this point. In particular, I want to recognize the nurses, the community nurses in particular, who are out there every day on the front line, risking their lives, swabbing individuals. Some come up positive, some come up negative. They have families, they have friends, they have lives, and they put all of this on the line to ensure that we are all safe in Grenada. I don't think we should take this for granted. I don't think we should squander the opportunities that we have, the comfort that we have, particularly as we approach the end of the year. We want to encourage persons, do not engage in, do not put yourself in risky situations, because we know we have to be our brother's keeper. All right, it takes one person doing something careless and taking it back to their family or taking it into their workplace, and and might cost someone something very precious, which could be their lives or the lives of a family member. So we want to encourage each other, everyone to continue to walk along with the Ministry of Health, obey the protocols. They work.
All right. So, Dr. Charles, just before we go, just a reminder that effective this Saturday, you're making some changes. Just close out with that reminder as to what is required as of Saturday of this week.
Right. So as of Saturday of this week, persons traveling to Grenada, you must present a PCR test that is taken no more than 3 days before traveling to Grenada.
All right, thank you so much. I would like to thank you both gentlemen, Dr. George Mitchell and Dr. Shawn Charles, for enlightening us this evening and exploring the various topics. And to you, our viewers and our listeners, whether you are at home or in the diaspora, wherever you've been logged into this evening, we want to thank you so much for staying the course with us on Beyond the Headlines as we examine the issues related to COVID-19. To the person who played such an instrumental role in securing the attendance of Drs. Charles and Mitchell, I want to say a very special thank you. On behalf of the entire production team at the GBN, I'm Odette Campbell saying we'll see you again next week on Beyond the Headlines. Till then, we'll catch up.